First off, I would like to give recognition to the conference committee. Without all the great people involved and all the hard work that goes on in that committee, this wouldn't be possible. So, big thanks to the conference committee. We'll be hearing from some of them in a little bit. Option is to sign up for the AGIC listserv. You can do that on the AGIC main website. We had a little technical difficulty with it this morning. I'm not sure if it's up and running again yet, but as soon as that's up and running again, do sign up for that listserv. It's where a lot of great information comes through, and for folks looking for jobs, and especially students, most every single job announcement is posted to that listserv. So that is a great resource for finding out about jobs and such. Just a friendly reminder, if you could all mute your microphones. There's some that aren't right now. That'd be a great help. Thank you. So for the recap of yesterday, I thought what we would do is I invited the conference committee members to join in this morning, and that we could talk about things that we saw yesterday of note and other great things that we saw. So for those of you that are on the conference committee, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself, go ahead and turn on your video as well. And we can have a bit of a roundtable discussion about what highlights we saw yesterday. So starting with Jack Dangerman's keynote address, anybody have some highlights or anything that they saw from that presentation? I'm getting to my notes as well.
I feel like I'm the only one here. Did we not get other conference committee people to turn on their video and unmute?
This is James. I unmuted, but I can't give you video. I'm not capable.
Okay. We'll just have
Lisa, I'm on a federal computer. I can't, no video.
Okay, that's fine.
I was busy accidentally chatting to the entire group instead of keeping a private chat with some people, so I missed the whole thing about that.
Yes, fun with virtual conferences, as we're finding out as we go through this. Okay, so the two things that I noted from Jack's keynote was this notion of societal GIS. I thought that was kind of an interesting term. I always get interested from watching him speak. So that was the one I noted this time around, was societal GIS, and just how pervasive GIS is becoming in society as a whole. The other thing from the techno geek side of things, or side of me, was this notion of microservices in terms of how they're technologically breaking up how services work in the cloud to make the technology more scalable or something along those lines. I thought that was kind of an interesting notion that I took note of. So others, what other folks from the conference committee, what did you guys note from Jack's keynote yesterday?
Well, this is James Lambert again, and I took note of, kind of as an overarching theme, was the thing about stuff on the cloud. And I know that in Mojave County Public Works especially, we're kind of leery still of putting stuff in the cloud because we're concerned about security and such. And so we kind of, well, we're still operating on desktop 10 rather than even working with Pro, so we're a little bit behind the times. And I noticed that technology is far outstripping our ability to keep up with it.
Yeah, good point. Others? Or go ahead, Jane.
This is Shay. I really liked hearing them. I work at ASU and I do project management, but I work with a lot of students. And it seemed when I heard it from everyone years ago when our AGOL started getting so huge that, oh, everyone's going to be a developer. There are no developers anymore. Why am I studying this? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, we're still going to have plenty of developers. More people can get access to some basic things in AGOL, but you need the developers. So I was excited to hear him yesterday say that I was right, so we can stop it. No, and that he's seeing more and more developers coming in. I was also excited about BIMs and the ability to do indoor modeling within the GIS. Working at ASU, that's going to be a really big move forward.
Okay. Anybody, one more person, and then we'll move on to other topics.
Well, Steve, someone said, I think it was Jason said yesterday that when he listens to Jack speak, he feels a little like he's not contributing because he said, I just draw polygons. But we shouldn't sell ourselves short because those polygons that we draw are what a lot of stuff is built on. You know, we may just be making parcels or water lines or whatever it is we're doing. But people take that data and then they can do some really cool stuff with it as long as we can share it with them.
Yeah, that's a good point as well.
On the lighter side, it sounds like we can get Jack to come to Prescott when we're back in Prescott again. Well, we'll have Gene host him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. It's like, it's just another reminder of what should be happening. But anyway, anybody else on Jack's keynote?
Yeah, I have an extra room. I have an extra room in Prescott.
There we go.
Gene, there are 130 people on this call, so you might want to say the extra rooms for Jack, because otherwise, in about 2 hours, I'll be at your door.
I'm speechless.
To your point, Troy, about I just draw polygons, I'm really excited about some of the new technology that's come out where they can take imagery and make polygons right directly from the imagery, and also to make it 3D. And for public works departments all over, that's a real boon for being able to track where your pavement is, where your dirt roads are, based on what color they are, stuff like that. And I think that and to your point, Shay, we definitely need developers because I'm not one of those smart people. I'm one of those people who just pushes buttons and gets told how to do things. So the technology is amazing, and it's wonderful to be able to see how things fit together and how they'll be able to fit together better with the new web, whatever he called that, web technology, where they're going to kind of stitch things together better.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sure.
Okay, so we also had the NG911 track yesterday. I attended and participated on the panel discussion. So I'll just start by saying it's panel discussion. We had Leslie Stovall, myself, and Johanna Kraus. Leslie's with the Gila Indian Nation. Johanna Kraus works for Northwest Fire here in Tucson, and of course I work for Pima County. And it was interesting, the panel was discussing how our GIS data is used in 911 systems and what hoops we jump through to for it to work in 911 systems. And it was just from the different perspectives between Leslie, myself, and Johanna, working for different agencies and different geographies. You know, there's a lot of commonality, but there's also a lot of differences and things that we have to pay attention to data-wise and how that data is used in the application. So that was some of the interesting things that came out of the panel discussion, at least. Did anybody else on the conference committee take in any of the NG 911 sessions? Okay. I did attend some of the other sessions as well. And it's one of those, you know, NG 911 is, I have to excuse the jet flying outside of my window. It is one of those arenas that's very data centric in terms of how the level of accuracy that the data needs to be, because it is obviously supporting life and death situations through the call intake and dispatch process. So a lot of focus on the data and data standards within NG 911. Let's move on to technical sessions. Did any of you folks attend any technical sessions? How were they yesterday?
I attended the not actually technical session, so I'm just going to stop talking.
This is James again. I went to the Brave New Coordinates session, and I am interested to see how this is all going to fit together and when it gets finalized. It looks like the survey world is going to change a great deal, and that affects us, you know, I guess it's more than peripherally, but it will affect how our layers fit together with each other depending on what we do with them.
This is Jamie. I also was, well, I moderated that session, but that's an important thing too for us as GIS users, GIS professionals, is the whole change that's happening with the National Spatial Reference System. So I think that's important for us to keep in mind. You know, everything's not going to happen until probably about 2024, 2025, but they're working on it now. So it's important to start looking at that. I think that was really good in giving us an idea of what's going to happen and the whole new state plane coordinate systems coming out. So it was a good session.
Yeah, I went to the topographic differencing and the Open Topo technical session. It was fabulous. And for those that have not been able to explore Open Topo, it is a platform that stores and delivers LiDAR data, and they can do, they can create derivative products on the fly. So that's what they were demonstrating yesterday. It was really impressive and fabulous. I really encourage anybody interested in LiDAR data to check it out. They're getting more and more data all the time.
Great. So let's go ahead and open it up to any other sessions as well as technical sessions. So Shay?
Sorry, had to unmute. And I'm waiting for everyone, all 140 of us, to type our favorite sessions in the chat. I know you can type because you work on computers. So go for it. Some of my favorite ones were the optimizing graffiti abatement using machine learning and GIS. I really loved that one. I love seeing what Ben is doing with heat severity and heat island in the Pinal area. Working at ASU, I see a lot with heat severity. I was bummed to miss Jamie's data viz one because I wanted to also see the data supply chain. I was telling Sandy, I don't know, she's right up there with you, Steve, and Michael Dennis on making stereotypically not the most engaging subject matter, very engaging. So the data supply chain, John and the whole fish bone or fish tail discussion on attributes, SME, I got to see a bunch of really good ones. I really love those.
Nice.
You feel on like the most interesting and important one, Shay. Did you go to chair yoga?
I have 2 children learning at home, and there's a sign on my door that says, only interrupt if you're vomiting blood. So I made 5 minutes of chair yoga, and then I had to run out and see to my children because you give birth to them and they expect results. But I am hoping you're recording chair yoga, and I can just put it on my computer because I have seen her before, and it's amazing what 20 minutes of chair yoga can do. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything from yesterday was recorded. When we have minutes to download them and get them up onto the website, we will do that so that what you missed yesterday you can view next week at your leisure. Chair yoga among them. Yeah, it was fabulous.
And I'm loving in the chat all of the things that people really like seeing. There's a wide variety. When did I miss Phil Ponce riding a bike with Bad Elves? Was that?
That was the pedaling towards innovation. That was up first. So they did a really and Nick, Dr. Smolowski did a really good presentation about talking about collecting data, GNSS data, and Phil rode a bike with his receiver right on there. Well, it was, he didn't do it live, but it was fun.
Well, I can't wait to see the recordings.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. That's about all the time, unfortunately, we have for the recap, but we'll be doing this again each morning, or not morning, but for the opening sessions. So thank you again. Thank you, conference committee, for everything you do to put on this event. All right, let's talk about some highlights. So what we want to do right now is take a group photo of everybody. So I'm going to stop presenting, and then we would like everybody to turn on their video cameras, and then we'll capture a group photo of everybody. So I'm stopping sharing. Everybody turn on your video camera. It's all your wonderful mugs out there.
Look at them.
Can you grab a screenshot from your big screen?
Sure.
You just snip it.
While we try and figure out how we're going to get everybody into the shot.
Look at all those beautiful faces.
All right, Jenna, I'm assuming you'll let us know when we're going to take the picture.
Yes, of course. I'm going to just have everybody stay still for like an hour, right? Jen and I are capturing you, so.
Is that a Sun Devil shirt I see? Turn that video off.
I agree. Turn it off. Turn it off. Shay, put your hands down. Yeah, and you guys can't see me. Sorry. My computer doesn't have video option. Oh, darn.
Right.
So, Jen, do you feel like you got everybody?
I only have a few people.
You only have a few people now?
Yeah. Where'd everybody go?
I don't know. Where did everybody go?
Yay! Brian's bringing in the whole team.
Awesome.
Kevin, get in there.
Perfect.
All right, Kevin, stand back one more foot. There we go.
Newly married Kevin, too.
Yay!
Kevin got married?
Uncle Dave is 2 people. Oh, wait.
Thanks, everybody. I think we got it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Okay. Bear with me while I present again. Okay. And lost my chat window and
Everybody probably did. Steve, everybody lost everything.
not just Okay.
I do not like your background, Shay. Please take that down.
Oh, did I forget to turn my video off?
How could you turn that video off? Thanks, Steve and I would appreciate it.
I'll get that. I can't find the button. I lost my video.
Yes, please, everybody turn your video off and mute yourself again.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have another great keynote presentation this morning. Lisa Atkins will be presenting in a few minutes here. Other highlights for today, we have the professional development track sessions running from 11 to 4 today. We also have the natural resources track. That's sessions running from 1 to 4. And we have our virtual networking group event from 2:30 to 3. That should be really fun. So check that out and we'll give it a whirl today. Friendly reminders, as you've been hearing us say ad nauseum, and for the rest of the week, please mute your microphones, turn off your video. It's a great experience to set your video setting to hide non-video participants. You can do that from the view menu in the WebEx app. Please remember to visit the sponsor breakout rooms. Please remember to vote for the maps and apps and send us your pics wearing whatever Ajax swag you ordered, like your t-shirts and all that good stuff. So with that, I hope Lisa's ready. So we've got a full hour of for her keynote. So we'll go ahead and introduce her. AGIC and the Arizona State Land Department relaunched AZGeo, Arizona State Geospatial Clearinghouse, in July of this year under the direction of Arizona State Cartographer and Land Commissioner Lisa Atkins. In coordination with the Arizona Geographic Information Council, AZGeo has been modernized to a cloud-based solution. The new AZGeo better serves Arizona's geospatial community through an improved user interface and flexible framework. Lisa will discuss the benefits brought to the state and the Arizona State Land Department through this accomplishment. You'll be joined by other top executives to discuss the value of GIS for data-driven decision-making and highlight the important work being done within the Arizona GIS community. And she is a fellow U of A alumni, so go Wildcats. All right, I am going to stop sharing and welcome Lisa again.
Good morning. You probably said the most important thing, and that is that it's a fellow Wildcat that's speaking to you this morning. And I know I just raised the ire of all of the NAU and ASU grads, so my apologies. But there are very few times when I get to brag about being a U of A grad. I am so happy to be with you again this year. I am sorry that I don't get to see you in person. As was indicated, I'm bringing a few of my friends virtually to the meeting this year, and we'll hear from them in a few minutes. But I do have some big deals to talk about before we hear from others. But first, let me thank each and every one of you for what you do on a daily basis. There is no way for us to thank you for everything you do, because you make our lives so much easier, and you are a critical path toward gathering of data for good decision making. And that is really the hallmark of what I want to talk about today, and all the time and effort that's been put into building a system that works for everybody. It is a big deal that AZGeo had the release of its statewide geospatial clearinghouse on July 1st, 2020. I think that is the result of time and effort that even I do not understand. All the things that you all have done to make that possible. But the most important outcome from that is not only do we have better information and we have a mechanism to share data, but it's been designed as a very collaborative platform. For us at State Lands, it is a statutory requirement. For the rest of you, it may not be, but clearly you understand the importance of an AGIC-driven initiative that underscores the critical nature of the information. This partnership between AGIC and ASLD has meant a great deal for us as far as being able to understand the data that we have, but certainly it has a cross-section use all around the state. To have a centralized access to data and collaboration tools, we're already understanding the benefit that that's bringing, and we know that the sky's the limit on what we're going to be able to use. Providing access for an online mapping service, metadata that is FGDC compliant, geospatial data downloads, and applications which are utilized by cities and towns, regional, state, and tribal governments, private companies, and the public, which is important to support the needs of Arizona citizens, is a tool that I don't think even 5 years ago any of us would have imagined. And it will be put to good use, I can assure you. AZGeo collaborates with a variety of agencies, which we appreciate. I'm sure each one of you has a list of your own agencies with whom you collaborate on a regular basis. That's going to enhance the ability of geospatial professionals throughout our state to consolidate data, to make it consistent, and to be able to share applications on the site. Most of all, that's going to reduce redundant data and repeated requests for data. And that is an efficiency indicator that I think everybody can support. The thing that I like is that we won't be pulling out the recipe and making the cookies over and over again. We're going to have the data generated once, it's going to be available, and it can be used over and over so that it's consistent in how it's being used. And as importantly, we're going to see that data silos and duplicative efforts are reduced. And from an agency director's perspective, that clearly is a reflection of the governor's AMS philosophy that all state agencies have been working on for the last 6 years, and I think quite successfully when we can point to projects like this. I would be remiss if I didn't also call out for the Catalyst Geospatial Excellence Award the fact that it received the NISGIC award. The AZGeo website is already coming to other people's attention. It reflects the hard work of each of you, so give yourselves a pat on the back for everything that you've done to make that possible. And congratulations on the NISGIC award. I want to switch for a minute before we get to my friends who are joining us this morning to LIDAR. From the state land perspective, when I talk about the amount of land, and I think I've talked about this every year, that the state land department manages more than 9 million acres, which is really the framework for what we can expect to see economic development growth in the state of Arizona. Our job is to manage a very interesting trust asset that is all natural resources. It's either surface land or subsurface land. And if you don't know what you have, it makes it a little difficult to be able to make prudent planning decisions and execute plans that you know are in the best interest of the beneficiaries. So the fact that that we are in and using LIDAR is just exciting for me, because for the first time, we're going to have elevation data that's really going to benefit our operations and I think other agencies in the state as well. Why is it important? Well, it's going to allow us to do hydrologic modeling. And if there's a consistently high priority conversation that goes on in the state, it's always about water. In a year like we've had this year, where because we had such a dry spring and summer, and we're still finding a huge wildfire challenge, which then results in flooding and landslides, it's going to greatly our ability to be able to deal with hazard mitigation. For it always surprises me when we say manage forests in the state of Arizona. We're in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. But if you stop and look, clearly we have forested land. We have several national forests here. The land department in and of itself manages more than 175,000 acres of forested land. And I would argue that every one of those acres that has burned up this summer may not be forested in the traditional sense of having trees, but certainly has growth of plants that contribute to the Sonoran Desert landscape. And they have been as much of a fire hazard as anything else has this summer. Most importantly, I think LIDAR is going to give us the ability to do some planning and development, which we've been challenged to be able to do in the past. Our friends at USGS estimate that having a statewide LIDAR is going to save us more than $12.5 million annually. Now that's old data from 2011, but I can assure you that I think it's a higher increase in value than that, but that's the last information that we have. If you do a cost-benefit analysis of why LIDAR is a reasonable activity to perform in Arizona, just let me read you some business uses and some benefit numbers as far as cost is concerned and their ranking. The first one, as far as business uses, and we need to continue to think of operations in the state as a business, has to go with infrastructure and construction management. That is more than $6 million a year. Natural resource conservation is more than $3 million a year. Flood risk management is almost $2 million. Geologic resource assessment and hazard mitigation is about $500,000. Ag and precision farming, which is still a very viable industry in the state of Arizona, is slightly less than that. Forest resources management, again, not just the trees, but the undergrowth and other patterns that are contingent to what we traditionally think of as forested lands, that's in the same range. Renewable energy resources. We see a huge growth in renewable energy in the state, and LIDAR is an important function of citing those and making business plans. Aviation and navigation safety. Let's think beyond commercial and realize that just in this state alone, the assets that are already dedicated toward military airspace, whether it's Goldwater Range or training at Davis-Monthan or Luke Air Force Base, or even when we're talking about the work that goes on down at Fort Huachuca, that all has a very high benefit ratio for business use. And of course, as I mentioned before, water supply and quality and river and stream resource management. And I know most of you don't think of Arizona as having rivers and streams, but darn it, when it rains, we actually do. And we need to be prepared to handle those in times where we have flooding situations. So current LIDAR projects with Asld, which are making a huge contribution to our stakeholders and our coordination. In Maricopa, Pinal counties, we are doing collection data. And that means right now we're flying some areas to collect data that's going to be very helpful to us in making some decisions in the near future. And there is a grant application for 2021 to fly Yavapai and Pima County, which we're successful. So LIDAR, welcome. I hope I hope every year we see continued expanded uses of LIDAR in the state of Arizona. Just a moment conversation about GIS at Asld. I'm really excited about this. I was up in Yavapai County last week, and we're doing a Quad Cities collaboration up there, which is turning out to be a good learning experience for all parties involved. AZGeo is enabling Prescott and Prescott to share data with ASLD that we hadn't had before, but most importantly, we're not interrupting their workflow. So we're getting the data built and shared in a way that people can do their regular jobs, and we're still making progress on learning things that are important to all of the parties. So what's the win-win on this one? For us, it's a streamlined process for collaboration. Under this governor, we have worked very, very hard at the State Land Department, and I hope that some of you who we interact with on a regular basis have found that we're doing everything we can not to be a siloed agency that manages 9.2 million acres, but in fact part of the state's growth and economic development. We all have a lot in common, and I think you're going to hear that this morning. But the most important update that I want to talk about this morning is very brief, but I want to give a shout out to our own Jenna Strafes, who is the new incoming NISJIC president. And if you'll all join me in a quick round of applause. Congratulations, Jenna. We know that you earned that position, and we know that you're going to do great presidency. So congratulations on that. So last year when I was at conference, I thought that I could wear out my welcome and that you would say, okay, well, we haven't heard from the State Land Commissioner for generations and we've heard from her enough. I talked to Jenna and Ryan and said, I want to do something different. It's been a learning curve for me to understand the depths of the contributions that each one of you make. And so if we were in Prescott today, I would be on stage with some of my best buddies in state government. So since I can't be on the stage, and I want to continue to recognize our state level organization is being recognized nationally, and that you guys are doing this on a volunteer basis in addition to the work that you do for state agencies and our friends in other parts of the state, whether you're with a city or a county government, that you guys have done this all on volunteer time. It is an amazing gift to the state of Arizona. The 15 active committees and work groups providing information exchange to the state on top of everything that you do in your day job, and then having a successful annual conference again. And I understand that we're not just talking 100, but we're talking hundreds of people are participating in this virtual meeting. I thought that you should hear from some of my colleagues in the cabinet who also want to give you all a shout out for the important things that you do as the folks that we rely on for data that are key to making our annual decisions, or our daily decisions actually. So it's no surprise to me that Jenna was elected. It's no surprise to me that AGIC is recognized nationally. And with that, I want to turn it over to not a short, by the way. These guys are really excited to be able to share some comments with you this morning. But to turn it over to some of my friends and let them speak for themselves on the importance and how much we value each and every one of you in the GIS community. Take it away, Brian.
Hello, my name is Eric Shreve, and I work at Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs. My position at my organization is referred to as the GIS Applications Developer, which oversees the Situation Unit, which is a combination of two systems referred to as GIS and WebEOC. Together, fusing these two systems together, we can help provide decision makers more actionable information to help streamline decision making, as well as provide content to our stakeholders that show information that's more represented on a spatial interface as opposed to things you would see traditionally in tabular or narrative that doesn't really paint the whole picture of the actual story. As you know, 2020 has been a difficult year to say the least. Incidents ranging from COVID-19, obviously, to wildfires, civil unrest, and then some of our more rare occurrences that we've seen, which range from tornadoes, earthquakes, and of course our ongoing drought because of the lack of moisture we've received from our monsoon season. I'm going to give a quick visual and representation that shows some of the products that come out of our shop. These are being used daily from decision makers ranging from DEMA all the way up to the governor's office and then everyone else in between. So I'm going to give a quick overview, support function. And essentially, this is a representation that shows wildfire information on an hourly basis that occurs across the state of Arizona. As you can see, going left to right, you can see various data feeds and data sources that are fused together to give a better perspective of what's going on across the state. And as we know, when we're dealing with more tabular and analog type data sets or workflows, by the time you send out that text message or print that paper map, the data is already old. In this version or in this interface, information is flowing seamless. As soon as an update happens, you can see it referenced on the dashboard. I'm going to give just a couple more overviews. As far as emergency management's role in the state, you can think of us essentially as the kind of the centerpiece in the gear. We coordinate with all the counties, tribes, localities, and basically streamline information up so we can make more effective decision making, as well as help personnel out to move commodities across the state quicker in a more effective way. And as you can see here, here's a county breakdown that represents each county's individual infrastructure status as it pertains to emergency management. Going top to bottom, you have county statuses, tribal statuses, and then you have indicators on the right using a stoplight mentality where green is good and then red is bad. And then looking at the bottom, these indicators, you can see things that are, if we're not seeing consistency across the bottom as far as trending positive, it means that things aren't working, aren't looking too positive. And then the last dashboard that I'm going to represent is our ESF 12 energy. And this is a project that DEMA has taken on to basically streamline and point energy information as it pertains to power outages into a common operating picture. Essentially trying to tie and fuse all the various power outage co-ops across the state of Arizona into a more practical approach as opposed to seeing energy information. So these are some of the products that have been coming out. It's a continuation, obviously, and the more and more data and the more and more collaboration that emergency management does with other state partners and other jurisdictions across the state of Arizona only improves our effort as well as improves the customer user experience into creating something more user-friendly as well as helps to drive decision-making. So with that, this is the overview of some of the products that come out of DEMA's shop, and look forward to progressing forward. I know 2020 isn't over by any means, but hopefully weather starts to trend in our way and things start to cool off a little bit.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bob Brochette. I'm the Executive Director at Arizona State Parks and Trails. And it's my pleasure to, I want to thank you for your work, but also share with you a little bit about how Arizona State Parks and Trails is using GIS-based information when it comes to having projects occur and decisions on the ground for our customers who come and visit our Arizona State Parks. One of the areas that we use GIS very strongly is in our grant administration program. For example, Land and Water Conservation Fund is a federal grant that comes to the states, and then we use these as pass-through to other entities to do outdoor recreation-based improvements or acquisitions of the like. Well, since its inception, we've had over 750 grants awarded to those entities, and it also comes with a very serious tracking component. And it's our job is to ensure that the those grant funds have and continue to be used for the purposes of that grant. So with over 750 grants all over the state through the last several decades, our tracking system was prior to using GIS was just about paper and field notes and word of mouth and those kinds of things. And we've taken it upon ourselves to really get serious about our grant tracking program. And so we've used GIS to make sure that we can have an inspection sheet and who the entity is. All of that valuable and crucial information allows us to be much more efficient when it comes to inspections and compliance with those federal grant programs. So the other part that many of you probably already know, using it for a variety of park data and park information, such as structures. One of those, what's the year it was built and what's the current condition, where are they located, when was the last inspection, those types of things, again, used as paper and usually filed in somebody's desk. We brought that into the GIS world, and it's helping us make a lot more informed decisions when it comes to size and shape and location to make those decisions. Do we need to redevelop? Do we need to remove, or in some cases replace, those structures? Another valuable area is trails, with the hundreds of miles of trails that we've got for our public to be able to come into our parks and be able to find out where those trails are, how difficult are they, what is the current condition, and how long. Is this a tough hike? Is this an easy hike? So allowing us to make sure that our users have that trail information is very crucial. One, it keeps them from getting lost and require rescue. And the other is when people stay on trails, it minimizes damage off those trails and as to our park resources. So it's really been a valuable asset and tool for us helping manage not only the people that come and visit, but also that they have a real pleasant experience. Another area that we use GIS for is utilities. Our parks, and some of them are very heavy infrastructure related, and they come with utilities. So knowing where and when and how those utilities have been placed within the parks, again, helps us make better decisions when it comes to doing our capital construction and infrastructure. Another area, of course, is campsites. What are those campsites and what do they look like? And it really gives our users a way to access that information so they kind of know what they're getting themselves into before they commit to the reservation type process and payment process. The other is signage. Where is that signage and what does it say? And using our trail data, feedback from our customers, maybe signage, again, it helps us manage the people that come and visit within our parks. Probably the greatest use of GIS has been with our park maps. We've had several versions of park maps over the years, and some were accurate and some maybe not so accurate, but keeping those up to date as new trails come on or there's new infrastructure have really been an important process. And GIS has been important in helping us accomplish that goal. One of the neatest uses of technology that we've done is using the Google 360 camera, and where we had staff who basically walked over 175 miles of trails in just under 6 weeks and videoed the entire trail as they went. And it allows our customers who are thinking about visiting these parks and using these trails to let them know what they're getting themselves into. All that data and information and video is available on Google Earth and Google Maps now. So anybody can access it, and it's free. And it's really, really neat. If you hadn't had a chance to check it out, I really recommend you do so. We're also using GIS for Show Me Rides. We do other grant and OHV inspections within our grants. Those are two other grant programs that we have. So really GIS is really helping us really be much more efficient and accurate, and also using that efficiency and accuracy to also then inform our public in the best way possible. Another areas that we're really embarking on is a statewide trail map. We were going to kind of model this after what Colorado did a couple of years ago, where we worked with all the land managers. We got all of that trail information. We ground truth it and validate it. And then what we do is make that accessible. And the version that we did in Colorado was we used basically a app-based program where anybody can go any part of the state, just regardless of land status and land management agency, and know where these trails are, know those conditions and those types of things. So we're compiling that data right now and validating it, and then hopefully in the next year or so, we're going to have an application out there that's going to be free to the public, and it's going to allow them again to have that latest and greatest information. So I really want to thank you for all of you for the work, not only just the GIS professionals that we have in the agency, but you all are helping contribute to these types of products and services and efficiencies that Arizona State Parks and Trails is working on, and we're continuously getting better. I also want to let you know that GIS serves really as a foundation for all the decisions that we're making in the agency. And to have that accuracy and to have that information and have the GIS community as a whole pulling together, now we're all making decisions using the same data, despite or regardless of where what agency that you work in. So I really want to thank you all for the hard work that you do. Congratulations, and we really look forward to seeing what you guys can all come out with next year. And know that on this end, we will be using that information, and we're very grateful for the work that you do every day. So I hope you enjoy your conference and your celebration, and thank you on behalf of Arizona State Parks and Trails for all of the work that you do. Congratulations.
Hello, I'm Tom Bushoski, Director of the Arizona Department of Water Resources, and I am pleased to take part in this year's Agent Training Symposium. Here at ADWR, we recognize the importance of GIS and how it is an essential tool that aids in the decision-making process. GIS plays a critical role across numerous divisions, including groundwater modeling, field data collection, adjudications, permitting, and wells data collection. It is not an overstatement to say that GIS is the backbone for ADWR's data analysis and investigation of groundwater conditions throughout the state. ADWR personnel use GIS day in and day out to solve complex hydrological and water resources related problems. Just to name a few of its applications, GIS is used to determine groundwater flow direction, contouring groundwater data, modeling surface change, calculating the volume of a stock pond, determining if a particular well is located within a subflow zone, and 3D modeling of complex data sets. Within the state, ADWR is seen as a leader in land subsidence monitoring, as we have the largest state-run program using satellite, interferometric, synthetic aperture radar, INSAR, data in the nation. In 2018, the department published a GIS story map depicting land subsidence in the Wilcox groundwater basin, where ADWR had recently completed work on a comprehensive groundwater flow model. Focusing on the prevalence of land subsidence in the Wilcox basin, the story map uses interactive imagery as a complement to textual descriptions of the area's subsidence issues. Together, they literally paint a clear picture of the dramatic subsidence issues facing the region. ADWR's Community Water Systems division used GIS to design an interactive map that helped answer basic questions we often get from water users. Questions like, who is my water provider? Where can I reach them? What public records does my provider have on file that I can access? It put answers like those and more on the public's fingertips. ADWR takes great pride in making as much GIS-ready data freely available on ADWR's website through interactive mapping, imagery, and geographic analysis services. ADWR's Groundwater Site Inventory, or GWSI, database, and all of its data is easily accessible through ADWR's website as an interactive map. The map provides critical information about each individual well. Some of this data is the depth to water measurements, well construction, groundwater hydrographs, well use, recent photographs, and pump time. This data is used by water professionals and the public throughout Arizona to understand groundwater conditions for a particular area. ADWR's GIS is a data synergy between groundwater data, pumping data, well log data, groundwater models, assured and adequate water supply data, surface water data, INSAR data, and land subsidence data, and earth fissure data. I take great pride in the wide range of uses that ADWR personnel have so innovatively applied this invaluable new technology.
Hi, I'm Sandra Watson, President and CEO of the Arizona Commerce Authority. As the state's leading economic development organization, the Arizona Commerce Authority interacts with businesses around the world to grow and diversify our economy, creating new job opportunities for all Arizonans. The GIS professionals on our research team are key contributors to the work we do. They play an important role by translating demographic, financial, and geographic data into visual formats that help us tell a compelling story about Arizona's many advantages. Their contribution is valued across our organization. In the last year, the Arizona Commerce Authority has taken on a new initiative to advance broadband connectivity statewide. Mapping the existing fiber optic routes throughout the state was critical to understanding available infrastructure, and our GIS team made this possible. By integrating data from multiple sources into a single format, our team and our partners at the Arizona State Land Department, the Arizona Department of Transportation, and the Governor's Office were able to design our state's broadband plan using a unified template. Whether it's mapping community assets important to businesses or planning the infrastructure of future cities, GIS will continue to be an important part of the work we do at the Arizona Commerce Authority. I thank you all for your hard work on behalf of our state.
So those are just a couple of my friends and in the cabinet, and you can see that it might have had a little direction toward the land department when you talk about land and water and the broadband initiative. But what I wanted to express to you today through someone else's words is how much every one of you is valued. What you do on a daily basis not only makes my job easier at the land department for those agencies that we interact with, but actually it's a huge contribution to the decisions that are made at the agency level, at the interagency level, but most important by the governor and his staff as the executive for the state of Arizona. So they would have been with me had we been in Prescott. I'm hoping next year that we can, when we meet in person, thinking positive, that we're going to have an opportunity to have other agency directors. I see from some of your comments already that that knowing how your work is reflected in the day-to-day business decisions and activities of the state is welcomed, so that you know what happens. And that was exactly what I wanted to happen today. Instead of me talking about it and the importance of everything you do and what you do and is actually contributing to better decision making, I wanted you to hear it from my colleagues who also are the beneficiaries of what you do on a daily basis. If I were there, I would say ask questions. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. So I'm going to give back almost 30 minutes of my time, but not before I say again, thank you all for everything you do. We may not understand it on a daily basis, but please know that what you do is reflected in all the decisions that are made in the state of Arizona. We couldn't do our jobs without you. and it's a huge contribution to the state of Arizona, and there is no question in my mind why the recognition has been given to you all. You've earned it. Thanks again. Have a great conference. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Lisa. This is Steve. If you've got a couple minutes, there was one question that came up in the chat, and that was, is the plan to do hydrologic modeling on all state land?
We don't know at this point. That will be a coordinated effort with DWR. Water is an asset, clearly, of the trust, but we don't have any regulatory. To be perfectly honest with you, as with all state agencies and funding, we try and do a lot of work with a few people. And one of the things that we're going to start, and it actually ties back to the state parks, is we've just been granted a large grant, $1.5 million, to do something that's never been done in the department, and why so much of what you all do is critical to us. And that is, we're going to start developing a plan for the non-urban areas of the state. And the first area that we're going to start on has to do with the use of off-road vehicles on state trust land. Those, I'm sure, are going to lead to other bits of information that we need. The entire decision to have a portfolio was made at statehood. It is an asset that belongs or is to be managed by 13 beneficiaries, the largest of which is of K-12, and it's an asset that's to be managed in a way that generates revenue. In order to do that, you have to take care of what you have today so that you have it tomorrow. It's the same as any other asset, natural resource asset that we have. In the urban areas, that's easy to do. You can reach out and touch where economic development is going to happen. But if I showed you a map, and maybe that's one thing that we'll do next year, if I showed you a progression of development just in Pima, Pinal, and Maricopa County over the last 4 decades, you could visually see the contribution of state trust land to the development of in all 3 of those counties. Well, the state's going to continue to grow. It will depend on the resources we have and how we allocate it, but we need to get ready for that growth. And having data at our fingertips to be able to decide how we're going to manage the 8.5 million acres that's outside of the urban core is really critical. So I don't know for sure, but my guess is anything that has to do with water in the state of Arizona, we're going to be measuring.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And thanks so much for putting together that presentation. It's great seeing the state agency directors talk about how GIS is used within their agency. The DEMA dashboard has been a model for others for a long time now. One of the best dashboards that's out there that I've seen, at least. It was really cool to hear about the park's use of the Google 360 cameras to give trail users a kind of a virtual experience before they get out there. And then, of course, the water providers through ADWR, that's, for myself, working for a local government, that's always super important and always asked for.
And the broadband decision is critically important to ensure that no matter where you choose to live in the state of Arizona, that you have access to the latest technology. So when the governor challenged all of state government, but led by the Commerce Authority, to develop a broadband policy, so no one knew that we would be in a pandemic right now, and the importance of having education tools for students who outside of the urban areas that aren't able to go to class is critically important. There's no reason why we don't have assets deployed throughout the entire state. So no matter where you decide to live, you have the same access to assets that you would in an urban area. And it's phenomenal. And I think it's important for you all to realize that what you do has a very, very real impact on the state of Arizona, not just in your own agencies, not just in your own realms, but it is in fact a critical tool to decision making. And the governor has proven that time and time again. So if we have the good fortune to be invited next year to your annual conference, I'm going to bring more of my friends because I want you to hear it from them. I know how we make decisions. Those happen to be agencies that I deal with on a regular basis. So it was an easy ask. I know how they're using the information, but we're going to ask some others because I think it's important for you all to just sit back and pat yourself on the back because what you do on a daily basis is having a very, very real impact on the state of Arizona and the future of the state. And there's just no way we can thank you enough.
Great. Yeah. You've got a standing invitation every year to come.
I love it.
Talk to us. So,
I love it.
Yeah, it'd be great. It's always great to celebrate those successes and those accomplishments. And so, again, really good to see how that work is being used throughout the state at the state level.
Good. All right, let me know how I can help. I just also want to reiterate one more time, as I know any agency director would. I've got just a fabulous team, and I'm not at all surprised by the national attention that you all have earned, and I'm really proud that Jen is the president.
Great.
So thank you all for everything you do.
Thanks again, Lisa.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Take care.